happens to be right now they decided to do this.
That's okay.
So
That's
there may
important
be
too.
notice for a minute or two.
All right, no problem.
Okay, but I'll just talk louder.
All right, well, we can hear you fine, and trash truck's not a distraction for us.
All right, okay,
So can I give you a quick introduction?
sure.
All right. Well, we are really happy to be here for our first in a series of Meatless Monday events. And today we have with us Vance Lehmkuhl from the American Vegan Society. And Vance heads up marketing and does a lot for the American Vegan Society. So we're really happy to have you here today, Vance.
Great. Thank you, Amy. I'm here to talk about environmentalism and I guess having a sense of history. Just to give you some history about me, I came out of journalism at American Vegan Society. I'm, in addition to Director of Communications and Marketing, I'm the news editor of American Vegan Magazine and do a lot of kind of looking at issues journalistically. And I bring that up because I was a journalist back when I became vegan, and it kind of, my progress kind of continued on parallel paths there. So that may explain some of the things that I'm going to talk about. But the key thing is that 20 years ago, for Vegetarian Summerfest, I created this shirt, which I'll bring closer to the camera because I feel like it's a little too small on the shirt. It should have been a little bigger on the shirt. But either way, it says, "Eating meat consumes the earth." And this is a shirt that they would sell at Vegetarian Summerfest, as it was called then, and very popular. But the point is, it says, "Eating meat consumes the earth." And then down here, it says, "A worldwide waste of rainforest, ozone, topsoil, water, oil, lives." Well, ozone, you know, we have made a lot of strides in repairing the damage we did to the ozone layer. So that's great. At the time, that was like the biggest thing that we knew for sure about atmospheric effects of animal agriculture. But the point that the shirt was making, obviously, was not just that it's these, 6 things that it does. It's that it's a multiplicity of effects. Animal agriculture just has a lot of bad effects on the planet. And 20 years ago, I was trying to get that across in that, and there was a general understanding in the vegan community, in the environmental, in the environmental vegan community. Vegans were always trying to get this idea across to people who said they were environmentalists but kept on eating meat, that there's just so many problems with the institution of animal agribusiness that the best thing to do, rather than try to tinker here or there, is just to completely shove it aside and move to plant-based agriculture. What happened, and I'm going to talk about messaging, like coming out of journalism. I'm very attentive to the kinds of messaging that happen and how messaging and counter messaging happen. And an interesting thing happened. A boon to our argument came in 2006 with the report from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization called Livestock's Long Shadow, where they posited that the effects in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, or greenhouse gas equivalents by way of animal agriculture was as great as or greater than all of human transportation. And that was a real headline grabber. And the issue of climate change was at that point really starting to ramp up. And nowadays, we have a lot of attention to the issue of climate change in our culture and in mainstream journalism, and that's great. Still don't have a lot of attention to how bad animal agriculture is for the planet. So one thing that has seemed to get lost is that we had this kind of plateau that we were building on top of existing harms that were known and were scientifically documented. And then this much greater and more immediate harm of like the destruction of a human environment, an environment that humans could actually live in on this planet by the end of the century, suddenly came on top of that. So that's all that's doing is adding to the pile. It's making the pile bigger. But what's happened in a lot of our messaging over the past 15 years is a lot of it has started to really focus on climate change, on this more immediate, palpable kind of threat at the expense of these other issues. And the problem with that is that we lose sight of the fact that there's a multiplicity of problems. So one of the things that I have to say before I go into this, that I did, jump on this at the time, and I also was blogging this, trying to get the message out. There was a big splashy concert that Al Gore sponsored called Live Earth in July of 2007. I went to that, and I wanted to get this message across to people, but I knew I couldn't walk up to every single one of the thousands and thousands of people there who thought they were environmentalists. But I didn't want to use up a lot of paper. So I made on recycled paper little business cards with the fact from livestock's long shadow and a little picture to make it appealing. I should mention I am a cartoonist, so I tend to think in terms of cartoon solutions to things. But anyway, I left those in the men's rooms in various places where people would find them. I started a blog at Philly.com where I worked called Earth to Philly, and I would cover the connections between animal agribusiness and just the environment, but also especially climate change at the time. And I did actually have a post where a study came out that I drilled down in and dragged out the fact that nitrous oxide was a harmful greenhouse gas that came directly again out of animal agriculture principally, and was not being reported. Now, in the past couple years, we've started to hear from the mainstream, oh yeah, nitrous oxide, we really got to pay attention to that. So I just want to point out that I was on this tip at the time, and I was helping to get that across. But over the years, I felt like we've focused so much on that in our messaging that it gives the other side an opportunity to pretend that is the problem, to pretend that climate change is the problem. And if that can be reduced to greenhouse gases, then greenhouse gases are the problem. If greenhouse gases can be reduced to carbon, then carbon is the problem, and carbon sequestration is the solution. And therefore, regenerative agriculture is the solution. And now we've solved the problem of animal agribusiness. That's one example. Regenerative agriculture, very popular, very buzzy right now. But the main problem with most of the proposals about regenerative agriculture and how carbon can be sequestered in the soil by the way of animal hooves packing it down, it just looks at carbon and completely ignores what's happening with those animals, in terms of methane. And so then, the pro-meat lobby gets to try to drill down onto one aspect of this and say, well, we're going to tweak that and now everything's okay, when we're saying, wait, what about all this whole other picture? There's this, and we don't like to just go on with it because it makes it sound silly to be just, listing thing after thing after thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, but there really are a ton of those things out there. So for example, if you say, well, now you're not even covering all the greenhouse gases, then what about methane? Then they say, oh, so methane's the problem. Okay. So now we're going to feed the cows this particular, seaweed is the latest thing, but I mean, it's been thing after thing that they've come up with as the supposed solution to the methane problem. We're going to feed this, and this is going to take this down by this percentage amount, not eliminate it, of course, but and not to the point that they've actually even proved this amount that they're claiming, but just the fact that they're doing something at all about it. In the public mind, like makes it seem like, oh, I heard there's a problem with methane. Now they're addressing methane. So that's, you know, that's a wash then. And so you have things like Burger King putting out a commercial that has a kid playing a guitar. And I don't know if people have seen this, but touting how they're great, you know, things about Whoppers now will have less effect on the environment because of this treatment of methane. They have a kid actually walking out of a cow's butt at one point, a big scene that looks like a cow's rear end that the kid is walking out with the smoke coming out. It's just really, really bizarre, but it speaks to how far they'll go to kind of reframe the conversation. Oh, I know this is this huge problem, but look at this huge thing that we're doing now. But the huge thing just has to do with the one little aspect of it. And for the public who's not really paying the strictest attention, it almost seems like, oh, well, I heard there was a problem and now there's a solution. So, so again, the problems of animal agriculture are myriad, and the solution really is there is a single solution that doesn't like stop climate change, as studies have come out saying, you know, if the world went vegan, it wouldn't stop climate change in its tracks just right there. But going vegan and moving our population toward eating vegan is the single most effective way to combat all of these problems and all of the problems of climate change. It's one solution, but it has effects in each of these different ways. So it's not, I mean, I'm not even talking about the fact of the injustice of killing animals for our food, which is a problem. And it's a problem that affects us, our population psychologically. But let's put that completely off the table and just talk about real world physical effects. Just removing yourself from supporting animal agriculture with your dollars is a step that if enough people take it, it's going to have a big impact on this, and this. So that means it's not just a win-win. It's a win. I'm just trying to get across the multiplicity here of what's going on out there. And before I just say the last thing about this, I'm going to put in a plug for the American Vegan Society. Everybody who's vegan or interested in vegan eating or ahimsa or just doing the least harm or trying to be cruelty free or whatever should check out americanvegan.org and see about becoming a member. If you like, we have, this is actually not an American Vegan t-shirt, but we could probably get a hold of it from NAVS. But the American Vegan Society has been around for 61 years now and really has a pretty good holistic perspective on things. And that may be some of where I'm coming from in seeing some of these things that look like flashy new things that have been addressed by, for example, Jay Dinshaw, back when he was writing books, or President Freya Dinshaw. And one thing that we have not announced yet, but I'm letting you people know right here, is that we're going to be opening a storefront information center in Old City, Philadelphia this summer, in June anyway, which will be like a hub for vegan information for tourists who want to find vegan food, for residents who want to meet other vegans or find out about veganism. We'll be starting as an information center and opening for public events, hopefully by fall, when public events and getting people together in groups is not as problematic. as it is now. So that's a cool thing. And so to return to my my point about the multiplicity, there's just so much that being vegan can do. I'm not going to list all the different positive effects that it can have, but I just want to address one thing that is a question that we get when we say, you know, it seems like you have to depend on animal agriculture. You have to have meat and dairy. And so let's try to find the best way to do it. There is no best way to do it. Get rid of it. And people say, well, if I completely eliminate meat and dairy, what am I going to eat? There's what's left to eat. There's nothing left to eat. So I'm going to share my screen now. And I have an answer in the form of this brief song. I hope this works.
Vance, I'm afraid we don't have the volume this time.
You can't hear it?
No. Can we try again?
Okay. You can't hear it at all? Let me stop sharing. I wonder if it didn't retain that sound. No, it didn't. That just fell off. Okay, let's try it again.
All right.
What do you live on? What do you do without meat? What do you got left to eat?
Well, there's broccoli, gingerbread, almonds, and rice, milk for your corn flakes, asparagus, artichokes, apricot, pepper, pineapple, and carrot cake, banana, biscotti, sorbet, manicotti, and raisin and strawberry waffle, tomatoes, potatoes, gazpacho, and nachos, alfalfa, fennel, and falafel. There's coconut, baklava, cucumber, sesame, chili, and chutney, and cherries, and chickpea, cilantro, polenta, pimento, pistachio, pesto, and blueberries. There's peaches and apples and nectarines, cornbread and cabbage and collard greens, and lentils and pintos and navy beans, and lemons and tangerines.
With so many treats so incomplete, it's sweet to eat. Why bother to have a cow?
There's cinnamon, grapes, avocados, and dates, peanut butter, and raspberry jam. A rogue guacamole, granola, stromboli, tabbouleh, and coleslaw and yams. There's mangoes, tamales, oatmeal, macadamias, marzipan, tea, cauliflower, and mint macaroni, miso, minestrone, French onion, and soup, hot and sour. There's kiwi and ziti and seaweed fajitas and pizzas and beets and raita, and leeks, fettuccine, sushimi, rotini, and baba ganoush on a pita. There's pralines and pretzels and plantain chips, pickles and pea soup and licorice whips, garlic and mushroom asparagus tips, cumin and black bean dip. But so many treats, so incomplete, it's sweet to eat. Why bother to have a cow? So many treats and incomplete, it's sweet to eat. Why bother another cow? There's hummus, okra, tacos, sausage, spinach, curry, bagels, enchiladas, ratatouille, ketchup, lettuce, seitan, olives, pasta salad, tempeh stuffing. Veggie burgers, watermelon, portobello, bean burritos, bulgur pilaf, quesadillas, apple cider, orange turnips, and cranberry muffin. Walnuts, currants, rows of radishes, and rhubarb, grape, spaghetti, biscuit, cantaloupe, risotto, lemon, maple, cinnamon, vinegar, papaya, hoagies. And cucumber, chili, jalapenos, and McKay lasagna, mustard, popcorn, sweet potato, pears, plum, punch, pierogies. A veggie papaya, a barley stew, tempura, stir fry, marinated tofu, buckwheat, and Brussels sprouts, borscht, bok choy. And don't forget the joyous soy.
Beet, tortellini, gnocchi, zucchini, retelling, tahini, tostadas, and blue.
With so many treats, so neat, complete, and sweet to eat. Why bother to have a cow? With so many treats, so neat, complete, and sweet to eat. Why bother another cow?
That's what we live on. That's what we do without meat. That's what we got left to eat. It's called food.
Okay, that's my presentation. So thank you for having me. Thanks for attending. If I'm supposed to do a question and answer session or what? But
Great, thanks.
I'm out.
All right, Vance, that's great. So that was really informative. Thank you so much.
I thought that you were playing that. I thought, oh, that's a cool. That was the next song on YouTube, and I stopped it. You saw me stop it. I thought I'd play myself off. Okay.
All right,
Well,
terrific.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I don't know that we have any questions, although here's one. Could you explain real briefly regenerative agriculture?
Okay. Well, there's a fellow by the name of Alan Savory who has promoted this concept that in terms of soil, in terms of pasture land, There is a way that you can bring domesticated animals onto that and have grazing on that land, which will, the impact of the hooves constantly pushing the soil down will cause carbon to be sequestered rather than what it generally does, which is dissipate out of the soil over a long period of time. So it traps carbon in the soil, and there's no debate over whether the effect of ruminants' hooves does indeed press the soil down and does in those places make for greater sequestration. What happens though is that Alan Savory and people who have promoted him tend to take these very small studies in very exact environments and extrapolate them far beyond what they can be applied to, and say that, well, this is the answer, this is what we should be doing. And the problem is that even if these optimal scenarios that they've managed to get something to work in like 1 acre of land are able to be spread across all of animal agriculture, which they're not, obviously, because of this sheer volume of animals that people want to eat. Even if they did, the entire concept of regenerative agriculture is just really focusing on the problem of carbon as a greenhouse gas. It doesn't address methane. It doesn't really have an answer for nitrous oxide. It doesn't address the water pollution that results from grazing, from typical grazing activities. It doesn't address the fact that you're taking land that could simply be left alone and do just as well, especially if you leave it alone long enough for it to reforest. And you can't have reforestation, which is something now that people are saying they want, without limiting the amount of land you're grabbing to use for animal feed and for animal environments. So that's that's a very brief overview. I should point out American Vegan Magazine that I'm news editor for. We did a piece on this a couple issues back. Anybody who wants to become a member gets American Vegan Magazine for free. So again, might want to check that out. We have, the person that wrote that up certainly can do a much better job of explaining it than I can.
No, that was really helpful. And I will say that American Vegan is a great magazine. You do a terrific job editing and putting it together, Vance. And
I didn't hear the last part. You what?
Oh, you do a great job with your with American Vegan. It's an excellent resource.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited to hear that there will be a vegan hub, a storefront in Philly. That's really exciting.
It is exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah. And just if people aren't aware, the American Vegan Society, while it's a national organization, it is housed, it has its home right here in South Jersey. So we're really fortunate to have that resource really close to us. And Vance, thank you so much for your time today. And we look forward to being able to share this recording because this is great information, something really easy that we can all do. Maybe going vegan sounds like a challenging thing, but there's plenty of steps you can take on your way to that destination just by reducing your consumption of animal products as a starting point. Right. So thank you so much. And we really appreciate your being here with us.
All right.
All right. Great. Thanks.
All right.